Sister Linsay, thank you very much for coming to see us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, how did your journey to Islam start?
Oh, wow. Alhamdulillah, I was really fortunate. I grew up in the West End of Glasgow. It's a really multicultural area. So in school, I went to school with people from all different ethnicities, all different religions, all different backgrounds. So from a very early age, I was exposed to Islam. I then, in my mid-20s, met my husband, who's a born Muslim. And through his character and his actions, I slowly got more interested in Islam, and eventually I converted. But
so you when you married, you were not a Muslim yet?
When I married, I was Muslim, but when we were first together, I wasn't Muslim.
Or when you became acquainted?
Yeah, when we became acquainted, I wasn't Muslim.
So he helped you.
Yeah, he really helped
to
me.
some extent.
Yes.
Now, was there something that made the difference for you, or that I mean, apart from the relationship with your husband, that convinced you that this was the way?
Yeah, and actually it was something my husband did. So a short while after my husband and I met, we were at my brother's wedding, actually, and he got married in a small village up north of Scotland. And in the morning of the wedding, we were walking down the main road. Now, it was in a village, so the main road, there was no pavements, there was loads of flowers everywhere. It was beautiful. And there was a bumblebee dying on the road. And my husband went down to pick it up. And I said, oh no, don't, it'll sting you. And he turned to look at me and went, and he picked up this little tiny bumblebee. And he went to the side of the road and he put it on a flower. And so I always, even now, after 20 years, I feel emotional about it. But he put it on a flower and he turned to me and said, everything has a right to die in beauty. And
wow.
I thought, well, that's what I thought. I thought, wow, I want that. And I didn't know where that came from or why he had that or what it meant or anything like that. I just knew I wanted to feel that about everything. And I think that's what really set me off on a journey to learn more where he had that love and compassion for creation. And slowly I went on a journey and learned more and more about Islam. And then, alhamdulillah, I converted.
Now, growing up as a child, what was the milieu? What was the environment in which you grew up? You were born as a Christian, I guess, no?
No faith.
No faith.
My dad's an atheist. My mum believes that there is a God, but she's not sure where it fits. I've got aunts and uncles who are Christian. I've got an uncle who is a Catholic priest. I've got aunts and a cousin who are Jewish. So I've got people from all faiths. So we were taken everywhere. This is the United
Nations.
Yeah, in my family it is. Yeah, definitely. And we were taken everywhere. As a child, I went to Sunday school, I went to the mosque, I went to the Sikh temple, we went to the Buddhist centre, because my parents believed we should experience everything, so that when we were older, we could choose if we wanted to.
Did that make it easy for you to convert?
Yes. Yeah, I think it made it very easy because I knew that I wouldn't have an issue from my family. I knew that they would embrace me no matter what. I actually converted in this mosque, and I left the mosque after converting, and I phoned my mum and said, I'm a Muslim now, and she went, okay, that's great. Yeah.
Very nice. So on parts of your family, no pressure?
Yes, for my direct family, no pressure. For some of my wider family, they struggled a little bit, and they really struggled when I started wearing hijab.
Because you look different now.
Yes, yeah. And friends, I lost a lot of friends when I converted to Islam because they didn't know what to do with me. You know, before I was Muslim, I would go out, I would socialise in the same way that most people would do here. And when I converted, a lot of people said, well, and actually somebody said that to me, I don't know what to do with you. You're not going to the pub, I don't know what to do with you. And I was like, we could go for coffee. And they were like, oh, it's not the same. So yeah, I lost a lot of friends after converting, but alhamdulillah, Allah has put the most wonderful people in the way of my life. So yeah, I have built a new circle of friends, and it's been great.
Well, the good thing about this is that there is always an alternative community, but the negative thing about it is that you'd love for your relatives what you've had yourself, but apparently these links are severed one after the other.
Yeah, for friends, definitely. For family, we make dua every day for my family. Some of them struggle with that. Some of them are really accepting of that. I secretly believe that someday my mum might become Muslim. She comes to the mosque with me. She comes to all kind of Islamic celebrations. She loves being part of it all. She's got Muslim friends now. So yeah, slowly I think one day my mum, inshallah, will convert, but we'll see.
Now you telling me that you embrace Islam here in this mosque. So, and of course you're married. Your husband is a Muslim, and therefore, I would assume that you were embraced by the community.
If
No.
Well, yeah. Yes and no. So to begin with, it was a struggle.
In what way?
Little things like you go into a mosque and everybody turns around and looks at you, and everybody feels they have a right to tell you how to practice. And I know some people are doing it from kindness, but I know that some people feel differently about reverts, and that's why they're doing it, you know. I've had people in the middle of my prayer, so I'm actually standing praying, and people have come up to me and gone, "Oh, you can't pray like that. Oh, yeah." And I'm like, I'm actually praying, so I can't respond. So I just stand there and carry on my prayer. But people are actually trying to stop me from praying to tell me how I should pray. But my husband's West African, so he comes from Silaj, and so they do stand slightly different than maybe the majority of Muslims here and things like that. And people didn't understand that. So it actually made me go on a bit more of a journey to find out more the kind of Muslim I was and how I wanted to practice. And because West Africa tends to be Maliki jurisprudence. And so I went on more of a journey. So actually, in the long run, it's helped me. But kind of as I've gone on more of a journey, then actually, alhamdulillah, the community have been really accepting and really embraced me. I've sat on the board of Muslim Council of Scotland. I'm the chair of Interfaith Scotland, and I represent the Muslim community. I work in a job that tackles Islamophobia, and it's very community based. My husband owns a shop in the south side of the city, and again, so everything in our life kind of revolves around Islam, and the community have been really accepting and supporting of that. I think it made a difference when I started wearing hijab, because then they could tell I was Muslim. But before, because I'm a revert, when I'm not wearing hijab, I don't particularly look Muslim, although what does a Muslim look like type thing. So I think...
Although many Muslim women don't wear hijab.
Well, precisely, yeah, no, exactly. But I think it helps people to go, okay, she's Muslim, she looks... I think it kind of helps people a little bit. But no, to me, like, alhamdulillah, a Muslim woman, it should be her free choice whether or not she wears hijab. It should be... I didn't wear hijab until I had been Muslim for about 7-8 years, actually. And then I chose to wear it. My husband, alhamdulillah, like, he never asked me to wear it. He never pushed me to wear it. And it was about 6 months after I started to wear it, he turned to me one day and went, is this a permanent thing now? And I went, yeah, I think so. And he went, oh, okay, that's nice. And I said, how do you feel about it? And he said, alhamdulillah, it's your choice. And then a couple of years later, I said to him, how do you really feel about me wearing hijab? And he said, alhamdulillah, I'm really pleased you're wearing it, but I'm really pleased it was your decision. And I'm really pleased that you came to it yourself, because nobody can force you. Nobody should make you wear hijab. It should be your free choice, because this is your journey in Islam. This is your belief, your relationship with Allah. And I think as well, because of those kind of things, that's why I converted, because that's the kind of man my husband is. He's like, it's everybody's own personal journey. It's your personal relationship. It has to be your choice. You know, when somebody is struggling with their deen, because we all struggle, but when someone is struggling with their deen, my husband is one of these people who says, come and sit with me and we'll chat and we'll go through it together and I'll help you and you'll help me. And, you know, and people will say to him things like, oh, alhamdulillah, because my husband, he's very practicing, he's very pious. And they'll say, oh, alhamdulillah, you're so practicing, you're so pious. And he'll go, astaghfirullah, it's all for my wife. And I'm standing there like, I'm rubbish at my practice. It's all for me. And he goes, but because my wife, you know, because she tries every day, she gets up and she tries every day, then I know that I have to try even harder because I'm a born Muslim, whereas she's come to this. So I need to try harder to show her a good example. So that to me is Islam. It's a choice. It's a relationship. It's a free moving relationship. And a lot of people are like, well, yes and no, but I'm like, well, yeah, because it's all about a relationship with Allah and it's all about the love of Allah to me.
You know, may Allah reward him, your husband, because
Alhamdulillah.
I regret to say not all husbands are like this. I mean, to really be a model, to inspire people to want to know more about the deen and to follow it. It takes someone with a high level of conscience and awareness.
Yeah, and
knowledge as well, probably.
Yeah, well, definitely. He is very knowledgeable. He went to a Muslim school, an Arabic Muslim school, growing up, but he had to leave when he was 15 to support the family. But he's always sought knowledge. Like he has always, from a very early age, his dad would take him to all the talks in the mosque, and that's how they practice. That's what was normal and that's what was expected. And so here, every time there's a talk, he wants to go, he wants to sit with people of knowledge. And we were in, alhamdulillah, we've been blessed to go to Al-Aqsa a couple of times. And
to Al-Aqsa?
To Al-Aqsa, yeah. So we've been, I think, 4 times. And he always says that whenever we're there, he's like, right, we have to stay in the mosque all day and sit with the imams and sit with the people of knowledge and just learn from them. But you know, alhamdulillah, sitting in Al-Aqsa and just being in Jerusalem itself, it's one of these places where you're sat in a cafe drinking tea and it inspires you to talk about Islam and talk about Allah. And people sitting round about next to you will turn and they'll go, oh, actually, and they'll start telling you more and more stories and more information, but in a really beautiful way, never in a judgmental way, because sometimes you know, as a revert, people can often judge. Whereas there, it's always beautiful and gentle and done with total understanding to me.
Have you ever been to his homeland, to Ivory Coast?
No, which is awful.
Really?
Yeah, well, my husband, he wasn't able to return for a long time. So
you haven't met his family?
Unfortunately, his parents have both passed away, but I had a really great relationship with his dad on the phone. So before he passed away, we would phone each other regularly and speak regularly. And a lot of his family aren't in Ivory Coast anymore. A lot of them are in other places.
Already spread around.
Yeah, definitely. But he goes back. But every time he's gone back, he went back the first time I was starting my 4th year exams at university. The next time I was doing my master's dissertation. The next time he went for a couple of months and I was working, I couldn't go. And actually he's there just now. And but he's gone for 3 months and I'm like, I'm working.
He's run away from the cold.
He's run away from the cold, yes. Yes, he has.
Now, where else in the Muslim world have you been? Have you been to other places? I mean, you've been to Al-Quds. Have you been to other places?
Only other place that I've been is to Morocco, the only kind of Islamic country. My husband, alhamdulillah, he's done Hajj, he's done Umrah a number of times, and inshallah, next year we will do Umrah together.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, so please make dua.
Inshallah. Now, what about the converts society or the community of converts? Are you part of that, or you feel more now because you're married to a Muslim born man that you probably don't need that?
Well, I think, to be honest, I think reverts always need each other. You know, it's a different type of journey. Many reverts have experienced a very different life before converting, and once you've converted, I think it's that thing of people always seek out people similar to themselves. I think quite often that's quite a natural thing to do, especially when you're new to a community. but my community is not just reverts. I have a really close community of reverts, but I also have a lot of born Muslim friends as well. And I think that's important for reverts, is that don't just stick to a revert community. Like, be friends with everybody. Like, have Muslim, have non-Muslim friends, have revert friends, have friends that aren't religious, because it's through these communities that you will learn most about your deen. Because actually, talking about Islam to non-Muslims has taught me so much about my faith and belief. And I think that's really important. You know, I sit on the board of Interfaith, so I have to talk about faith in general. I have to talk about how we all come together and work together in general. And that's taught me, I think, to be a better Muslim, because it's made me have to think how I explain some things to people. It's made me think about, okay, so this is your belief, and okay, it's different from mine, but that's okay. You can believe what you want to believe, and I'm believing what I believe, you know, and it's okay to find the common ground in these conversations.
Now, the organization you work for, MEND,
yeah,
what does it do exactly?
So it's an organisation that works to tackle Islamophobia. Unfortunately, here and in many Western countries, there is a lot of Islamophobia. People having an issue with Islam, with Muslims, and so my organisation works to tackle that. We work with politicians and politics. We work with the media. We work with communities. And we do a lot of training. We do lots of different events to talk about the issues and to try and tackle them, so that people can slowly over time, hopefully, eradicate Islamophobia.
Is it on the rise, or is it diminishing?
Unfortunately, I would say it's probably on the rise. It's become, over the years, it's become more normalised. Islamophobia is something that passes what's called the dinner table test. And that means, like, a normal society, it's okay for people to sit round and have conversations which are actually very Islamophobic, and nobody will call them out, nobody will question it. And in fact, people will join the conversation. And that's a massive issue. So what my work does and what our organisation does is work to change that and to change the narrative around Islamophobia. And
do you get any assistance from the government, from the media, from the mainstream media?
We get assistance in the way that actually a lot of more organisations are taking up our training stuff, but funding, no, we're completely community funded. But the Scottish Government actually at their, and it's the first government in the UK, at their SNP conference this year, they did a motion to adopt the definition of Islamophobia, the APPG definition of Islamophobia, at government level in Scotland. Now, obviously, it still needs to go through the process to be adopted fully by the government, but it shows you the movement that Scotland is making to try and, at least at the top political level, to tackle Islamophobia. And many of the political parties in Scotland actually have, in fact, all of the major parties have adopted the definition of Islamophobia, and are working to ensure that within their parties and organisations that Islamophobia is being eradicated, which is really important, because unfortunately it's not always the case down south and in other places. Yeah,
that's. I wanted actually to ask you about this. Some of us who live in England feel that probably Scotland is a more welcoming place for Muslims than England. Is such an impression correct, or?
Yes and no. So in Scotland, I think one of the things is, like, we do pride ourselves in being welcoming and friendly, and everybody can be here and be themselves. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Unfortunately, it's surface level. You know, people will talk nicely to you in the street and things like that. But then the level of institutionalised Islamophobia is really an issue here in Scotland. So yes, it appears more friendly and welcoming, but unfortunately, yeah, when you dig down, there's still a massive issue and a long way to go for us to eradicate discrimination on the whole.
What needs to be done? Is it education? Is it the media? What is it? Is this something that is part of history, or what?
I think it's a mixture of all of these things. I think the media has to change the narrative. I think the media, you know, for every one kind of moderate mention of Muslims in the media, we have 21 extremist mentions of Muslims. So the media rhetoric, obviously, that really has to change. we have to work on that. But also, yes, education is so important. You know, we hear of children in preschool suffering from Islamophobia from other children who are aged
That's
4 and
such a young
5.
age.
Such a young age. Like it's horrendous. So to me, nobody is born hating. It's something that's taught. It's something that's learned. So if we can teach it, we can teach how to not hate. We can teach non-discrimination. So education, to me, plays a key role in that.
Well, Sister Linsay, it's really been a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been fabulous to talk to you as well.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.